color correct fine art images in Adobe Photoshop so your audience sees what they'll get. 2-minute method, professional results. Let's dive in. This one is very gray tones, very subtle colors. So when I go through these levels and color corrections steps that I'm going to show you, there's not going to be a big difference. I will go through that. But what I thought I would do as well is go through this other one, which is a lot more colorful, to show you that the same formula works whether there's a lot of color or if there's just subtle colors. So let's begin. To get to the levels, you go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and Levels, and then click OK. Now, the other way to get to it is if you open Adjustments, and it's a menu here that's got all of the adjustments sitting available at your fingertips. You get to that by going to Window, and then Adjustments right there. Over to Levels. You can see here there's an RGB drop-down menu. You don't touch this section here. You go straight down to red. Now, the key here is to take the black and the white and move them over until it touches just until the graph begins to go up from 0. You can see there's a little tiny little tail almost over here. I make it so it just touches there. I may want to go back to that later and adjust it again to make it perfect, but for now I'm going to leave it just where it is right there. And then in the black section, you can see the graph goes right up against the wall. So you just leave that there. For red, the gray level is 0.9, and you can type that in. And then we go to green. Same thing, move the handle over just until it touches that graph there. And then you leave this one well alone because it's sitting up against a wall. For green, the gray level stays where it is. Now, one quick note, ignore what's going on over on your artwork right here because this looks alarming, but just be patient. And by the end, it's going to look just tickety-boo. So moving on over to blue. Again, you move the dials over just until it touches there. The black does not get moved because it's against the wall. For blue, the gray level is 1.1. Very specific. Now, if you want to get those numbers, I have a workbook that is a complete cheat sheet that is interactive, but also printable. So it will walk you through every single step, including the values I'm sharing here. So you can take that and use it not just for artwork now, but for future artwork and for your future business. Moving back over to RGB now. I am very happy with this at this point. I could move this up just that little touch. Again, if it's a small little image, I might want it to be a little brighter. If it's going to be a large image, I want it to be a touch darker. It's putting this control into your hands. For now, I feel levels is pretty much done. And particularly this artwork, it's almost perfect already. Let's move over to the mini that's got a lot more colors. Again, we find levels under the adjustments. You click on that. I go straight to red and I start moving the handles. This one is not against a wall, so I'm going to move the black just to where it starts to go up. Same thing. This is 0.9 for the red. Green stays the same. This goes up. This just barely moves. And this is 1.1. Okay, and then again, back over, and I'm happy with this. You can tell that the graph is very much even across the board. The overall image is quite dark, so I'm not surprised. There's a big wave over here, but overall, it's been leveled out. Now I want to go into specific colors, and I use the Selective Color tool for that. I'm going to go over to Acid Trip again. You'll find it over on Adjustments, Selective Color. Now this is good because I can now choose specific colors. And because this artwork is mostly gray tones, I'm going to go straight down to whites, for example. And honestly, I'm feeling really good about this artwork right now, but for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to show you what is possible here. So it's, even just a minor adjustment here can make a big difference. So you have to be very careful with this at times, unless you want to go wild and make things really funky. It's up to you. I'm going to move it back over to 0 because, as I said, I am good with it the way it is. Let's go over to the colorful one. Selective color. And for this one, there's no reds, so I'm going to go down to greens. And I could up the green just to make it a little bit brighter. I can up the yellows or make it more green, or purple, I mean, or leave it the way it is. Darker, lighter. I'm happy with it is where it is. Cyan. So this one's interesting because it really doesn't touch a lot of this blue area or this purple area. So I'm just going to, tweak it a little bit. I could add a little bit of yellow, so it's a little more on the green side. And blues, this is again where it's getting more towards the where the color wheel is. It's moving the color down. So I'm going to just play around with it, essentially. Do I want to up the purple or the green? It's whatever I want. That's what's fun about it. I mean, we are color geeks here, so I mean, we may be getting into a rabbit hole here. I'm actually going to leave this. The whites, I can go maybe make it a little bit more blue or take some of that blue out. Jaundiced, darker, lighter. Blacks. You can see here, it's a terrible photograph of this artwork, but I can now take the blacks and I can, let's put it back there. Yep. You might need to, in the layers, click on the icon for the selective tool or whatever tools you're wanting to edit. So blacks, yes. So you can make this more dark. In the next video, I'm going to be talking about taking out garbage. Sometimes you need to do that digitally, and I'll be going through that. So stay tuned for that. For now, that's selective color. At this point, I could share these with the public and feel confident that it's representing the original authentically and accurately. The next tool I'm going to share with you is called hue saturation. And it's one of my favorites, but it's really not to do with making it accurate. It's more about making another version of your artwork. Let's go over to hue saturation. You click there under adjustments. You can see all the colors here at the top. Right now it's on all of the colors. And you can see at the top here we have hue, and that's where we can adjust the colors, just as the name suggests. Accuracy is not such a thing in this case, right? You can make it lighter and you can make it darker, brighter. I don't tend to use this lightness right here because I use levels for that. Because this one is just taking the dial and you can make it all dark or all light. I have more control of that in levels. This one, saturation, this makes it grayscale or a lot brighter. It can be a rabbit hole, that is for sure. And then you can get into specific colors. There's not a lot of red in this one, so that's not going to make a big difference. You can see here, can adjust that. It's right now it's showing as green. I don't know. Oh, probably because everything's wackadoodle here. Anyways, so you can see here, you can really go nuts. Have fun. Or you can make it more accurate. The control is in your hands. You can turn off and on these different filters so you can decide what's right and what's creative. That's what's nice about these adjustment layers. You can turn them on and off and until you see that it's accurate and authentic. So that's making your colors accurate and going a little beyond. What's the next thing you got to do? Because you know that's not the end of it. Ever find hairs or dust or debris on your artwork? In the next video, I'm going to show you how to take out that garbage. See you in the next one.